Hello, everybody. It is me, Demetra K. I hope that you are having a great day. Thank you for joining me and Donovan, the recovering Democrat Sadiq, also known as the Black Yule Brenner, for the Demetra K Show, where we promote Black love, knowledge, and understanding of all things that go on in the Black community to make us an even better people, with the emphasis on even, because we're great people, but we can always strive to do better. Like I said, Big Giant, thank you. Hello, and welcome to YouTube and Facebook. You are the other side of the conversation. Also, to my wonderful moderators, thank you for all that you do in holding down the comment section. Today, we're going to have a very interesting conversation, and I kind of shudder at the idea, and I'll tell y'all why in just a second. But we're going to be talking about ex-NBA player removed from WNBA game. It was the Fever in Chicago. Y'all, Donovan will fill in all the blanks in just a second. After a heated altercation over his T-shirt with one of the players that was on the court. Is very interesting. Now, I did see this trending. And I asked Donovan, I said, what do you want to talk about today? And he brought this up. Now, I'll tell y'all why I shudder at the idea. About 3 weeks ago or so, I had kind of saw all this unfolding. I thought it was kind of funny, right? Really nothing serious about some of these guys that were declaring for the WNBA draft due to their stance or their lack thereof, if you will, on the whole trans athlete issue. And I was having this conversation with somebody, and when I tell you they went up one side of me and down the other, they was appalled. How dare I, this, that, and the other. I'm surprised with your media acumen that you would talk about this and take this seriously. Oh my God, I damn near had to hang up on them. That's that. I was shocked. I was like, whoa, okay. And so all of that. So, it's a little bit of PTSD. Anyway, seriously, but not seriously. But so anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. And Donovan is going to take over from this point, because I know that Donovan is a WNBA connoisseur. I've actually gone to a couple of WNBA games with him when Lisa Leslie was still playing. That go to show you how long ago that was. But nevertheless, there is, I guess, some sort of a controversy within the WNBA Women's National Basketball Association. You guys know they have a league on the side of the men. Well, somehow, and I wasn't really too clear on it, but it sounds like at one point in time, some trans athlete that lives in a different country was talking about the WNBA draft or whatever. So this conversation came into play. Well, will you guys allow trans? So I know this is above my pay grade, but trans meaning that they used to be men, or biologically they're men, and now they have transitioned to being a woman. Okay, I hope I didn't confuse anybody. So from that point, there was a lot of conversation. I guess they wanted the WNBA to give it a full-throated, no, we are not going to do that. Now, I should say from my research, and of course, Donovan will correct me and some of y'all, that the WNBA stance is that women, only women are allowed to play in the WNBA. However, their stance on what kind of woman it is, whether it's a trans or biological woman, that's kind of where it is fluid or whatever it is. And so from that point, a lot of conversations start to go forward, and I'll just put these pictures up as I talk. Royce White, who used to play for the WNBA, now the person, sorry about that. The person that kind of low-key cussed me out was like, oh, well, Royce White wasn't a good player. He's just doing this for clicks and likes, and, it's a stunt, right? So I've heard a lot of people say this is a stunt. So basically, he puts on a wig, and he was like, okay, I'm now identifying as a woman, and I am declaring I guess he's filling out an application to play for the WNBA, which I saw not too long ago. It sounds like he rescinded that. So obviously he's not going to go through with that. But when this was a conversation, he was like, hey, this is my wig, and you guys are disparaging a strong Black woman. These are some of the words he was saying, okay? Now, what I'm going to show you next is, okay, so this coach here, Cheryl Reeves, she plays for the Minnesota Lynx. Now, she has been seen.
No, she's head coach. Head coach. Sorry about that.
That's what I mean. I'm sorry. Head coach. Sorry. Thank you. Head coach for the Minnesota Lynx. And she has worn shirts like that, trans kids belongs, and things like that. And so I guess she's kind of maybe open to the idea, but it doesn't seem like it's really even a serious conversation within the WNBA. So then also there's some other players, and I'll just read you their names. Natasha Cloud, Gabby Williams, and y'all going to see from Natasha in a minute, and Stephanie Dolson. They sound like they are open to the idea, and their players, they're open to the idea of trans women. So biological men that have transitioned to being women, they're open to them playing in the league. Okay. Now, this is where we're going to start to hit some rubber to the road. So there is a guy by the name of Enes Kanter Freedom. He changed his name to Freedom after he got his full citizenship in 2021. He played for 11 seasons with the NBA. The person that cussed me out and went all up inside one day said also that he wasn't good either, and he's looking for some action as far as some attention. He's doing a stunt. But he's also considered.
Yeah, no, that's not true. He was good.
I'm just telling you what.
He played 11 years as a role player. So 10 years in the NBA, that's a pretty good career.
I'm just telling you what the tongue lashing I got. Okay, Donovan, anybody don't know that much about sports, it's little old me. Okay, so I'll take your word for it. Now he's also turned political activist. It sounds like he got in a little bit of trouble or got his people in Egypt because he's Turkish. But he went against the Egyptian government. So there was some, kind of riffraff going on there. So from that point, he's been very outspoken about a lot of things. He also declared for the WNBA draft. I don't know if he's still going on with that. And he has been open in protesting against trans in women's sports. Now, Sophie Cunningham, who also plays for the WNBA, I didn't know. It seemed like MAGA kind of gloms onto her type of thing. Don't quote me on that, just kind of from what I understand. She's been very outspoken about not having men play in women's sports, right? So I think they've kind of hoisted her up along with that of Caitlin Clark as their savior for speaking truth to power. Even JD Vance went on record basically saying, why is it that when you speak out, basically, and I'm paraphrasing, with things that are common sense, people demonize you for, basically speaking your truth, okay? So now we're going to actually watch the video of Enes. I think that's how you say his name. He was at a Chicago Sky and a Indiana Fever game, and this was the interaction that took place. So here we go.
NBA center Enes Kanter Freedom was ejected from a WNBA game between the Indiana Fever and the Chicago Sky after a confrontation with a player. Freedom was on the sidelines wearing a shirt that said, quote, woman, noun, adult, human, female. Sky guard Natasha Cloud confronted Freedom late into the third quarter, and he was then escorted from the arena. Freedom had a conversation with a group of police officers before leaving the stadium. Freedom had previously declared himself eligible for the WNBA this month, saying he identifies as a woman in a criticism of WNBA's eligibility criteria.
Okay, so again, that's what happened. I guess the player didn't like it. He stood up, and from that he was ejected. And here's the little bit of the conversation that took place after he was ejected or removed because he wasn't playing.
And that is the reason that they're kicking me out. This is unacceptable.
Just a little bit more.
Okay. So that was him being removed completely from the stadium. Now I'm going to bring in Steven Jackson, who is, he has all the accolades, right, that you can think of as far as being an NBA player, very outspoken. And here's a part of his stance that he said in regards to Enes being kicked out.
And real quick before you get that, for Steven Jackson, he is also a lookalike for George Floyd. Go ahead.
Correct. And that was his best friend. So they were truly, good friends. So here we go. Here's a portion of what he said, because I actually saw it when he put it on Instagram.
Stop the clown shit. I got daughters. I played basketball on the highest level. One on the highest level. Matter of fact, I won on every level. There's no woman that could ever play in the NBA, bro. Ever. And we've had some great women basketball players, but none of them were good enough to play in the NBA because it's men. A man should not belong in no women's sports because the ones that saying they should, y'all gonna be out of jobs. Then what you gonna say? You gonna have 2 NBAs? No, bruh. No. Y'all not making no sense. Y'all trying to make it about Enes Kanter. He trying to protect women's basketball. I don't understand what the problem is with him. Black people have been identifying as free and equal for how long? Half of y'all still ain't accepted that. So y'all want people to accept a grown man with balls that's going to play in women's sports and just accept that he a woman? No, man, I got daughters, and other fathers that got daughters agree with me. You don't want no man in women's sports. This is clown shit.
Okay, So the Steven Jackson, ladies and gentlemen, again, he is very outspoken. He has a podcast as well with Matt Barnes on all the smoke and all of that. So he did not bite his tongue. He basically said, hey, I got daughters and I wouldn't want that to be the case. And I think that's probably true for a lot of people. Of course, we've seen that debate at the Supreme Court and all kind of things. And it sounds like they said that the states, I guess, can make their own ruling as to whether they allow men in women's sports and things like that. But you know, there's some people who wouldn't mind at all. Now I'll go ahead and let Donovan speak. I'll just tell y'all right now, I always say this kind of stuff is out of my pay grade because I don't truly understand a lot of it. But what I will say, I think this is common sense. If my daughter was still playing sports, I would not want her to be playing with men. Now, again, the WNBA doesn't sound like it's something they're really entertaining. I guess they'll cross that bridge when and if that happens. Now, the other conversation was, well, if they, being the WNBA, deny men playing in women's sports, the ones that tried to draft or, you know, whatever, that they were going to sue, right, for discrimination or whatever it is. But back to Inez, he's basically saying, I'm supporting women. He's basically in on the shirt, and you can do what you want to do with it. He stated a fact. Right. He broke it down as to what a woman is. And I know a lot of times on the left, Ketanji Brown Jackson, people like that, they said, they don't know what a woman is. Right. Ketanji Brown Jackson, Supreme Court Justice, when she was going for her confirmation, when she was asked about it, she didn't really know. Right. So I guess there was some confusion there. I just say basically look down below and you could tell, I guess, maybe nowadays, not so much. I'm going to shut up. Donovan. Now be nice, Donovan. Okay.
Well, you know what? Steven Jackson took most of my talking points right there. That's how cut and dry it is when it comes to this issue. Now, here's the thing. Okay, you have daughters. So those of us that have daughters, this young girl, this is why Title IX was invented to begin with. The whole issue back in the 70s, Title IX was that funding for men and women's sports was equal. So women could have their own teams and do all this stuff. And, you know, they could be independent and get uniforms and get, you know, funded like that. Now, the WNBA, the Welfare National Basketball Association, because that's what it is. It's been supplemented. It's never made a profit. None of that stuff. How many of you guys remember a few years ago when the soccer team, the female national soccer team was saying, we need to make as much money as the men, even though nobody watched them. And that was a pressure move to just get the money. And some people just said, just give them the money and no big deal, right? The product is still no good. The WNBA just did the same thing. They just did the same. We want more money because we're women and we're playing, you know, basketball. Just because you play basketball in a similar sport does not mean you get the same money. Basic economics, basic business. If your product is good enough and the money is there, you will get a certain pay raise based on, you know, after the expenses are paid and everything else, what's left is what's left, and they're your salaries, right? But they're basically doing these moves. So when you have a league that has been subsidized for 31 years and has never made or 30 years has never made a profit, what is the incentive to get better? To make your product better? There is none, because you've strong-armed all these people. It's a tax write-off for the NBA owners, and a lot of the original NBA owners, they sold the teams. They said, "Hey, I'm tired of losing money with this thing. I don't want to deal with it." You know, they kicked them out of the arenas and stuff. They don't even some of them don't even play in the same arenas. As a matter of fact, I believe there's only 2 original WNBA franchises, being Los Angeles and New York. The greatest WNBA franchise, which the Houston Comets, folded over 10, 12 years ago, right? Oh, and by the way, Dimitri and I live right down the street from the greatest female basketball player that ever played the game, which is Cheryl Miller, and her brother Reggie. He isn't the greatest, but he's a Hall of Famer, right here in our neighborhood, right from here. So let me make this abundantly clear. I had season tickets for 4 years to the LA Sparks. I invited this person to the game. We had VIP parking, all that great stuff, right? Why is it that Demetra was sitting there looking at her phone? Why? I think I still have a video of it. You were just like, yeah, whatever. But anyway, here's the deal. If you have daughters and you see it happening in America right now all over the place, young girls are being cheated out of their hard-earned work by young men, young children that have identified as trans. Here's the deal, if you're woke or not. A biological man that is born biological, he's still a man. This is why it doesn't make sense to make a trans division. You know what I mean? You got men, women, and trans, because they're still competing against other men. And that's what those guys don't want to do. So there is no law or rule in the NBA that bars women from joining the NBA. You want to know why there is no rule and nobody's worried about a woman joining the NBA? Because no woman's good enough to make it. There have been some that have come close, but at the end of the day, our biology is what it is. It just is what it is. You know, a lot of these ladies have to accept the fact that it's a different machine. Men are stronger, faster. We have testosterone, such and such, such and such, right? If they do not, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, in my opinion, this league should have folded 26 years ago. The league should have folded 26 years. Any good business person, when you're not making money, you would have folded the league 26 years ago. It has been set to exist. The product is not getting any better. It's not getting any better. But, however, I'm supportive of the WNBA for the simple fact that we do need a league that our young girls can strive to be in and make some money off of. I mean, you're not going to make billions of dollars like LeBron or Kobe or any of these people, but you're going to make some money. When my hard crush Lisa Leslie was playing, she didn't even make $100,000 a year. And she was one of the top players in the league. So now we have a league where the women don't have to go overseas and go to jail like Brittany Griner and all this other stuff. They don't have to do all of that. We've got this league here. If you let men, biological men, into this league under the new player agreement, because now these girls, because of the TV deals and the TV rights and the strong arming, you guys remember when they had that pay us what you owe us? We owe you nothing. That was ridiculous. We owe you nothing. But the point is, now they're making significant amount of money, which is fairly better than what they were making. If you allow men to go into this league, there will be no women's league. There will be none. It is a fact. There was a guy, he's on Sportsnet or something like that. He offered $10 million to the WNBA to form a team, and he will select a high school or college team of his choice, boys, championship team, to play against them. One game. Nobody in the WNBA answered that call. Nobody even bothered, because the truth is exactly the truth. And I'm just saying, yes, protect women's sports. We're two different beasts. We're two different animals. If you allow trans men into your league, there won't be any. It won't be a women's league anymore. It just won't. It'll be a WG league, another like trans league for trans men. That's what it's going to turn out to. So let me hear what you guys have to say. Wait, real quick. Filthy Ambition says, Lisa Leslie, Cynthia Cooper, Cheryl Swoops, and Tina Thompson was the reason I watched back in the day. They were all my crushes, and they could play basketball. They could play. So yes, let's hear what you guys got to say.
Yes.
Wait, and Albie Chill says, Donovan, if they identify as a woman, then that's what they are. Stop trying to make 1 + 1 = 2, sir. Exactly.
Yeah, it's a loaded conversation for sure. Also, Steven Jackson, he said, in a longer version, it wasn't that long. he basically said if you allow, you know, a bunch of men to play at the WNBA, eventually it's going to be a bunch of men. It's going to be the NBA again, right? Because like you said, and this, I'm not saying, I'm just telling you what he said, that, you know, naturally men are a little bit more dominant in sports and things like that. So if you let a bunch of men into the WNBA, it's going to be like having two NBAs, right? Male leagues. So he was just basically like, it's nonsense or whatever it is. Like I said, yeah, a lot of this sports wise is over my head, but I have a lot of common sense, and I don't understand why people are having a hard time really just saying. I mean, there's some players who are like, yeah, cool, I don't care if they play or whatever. It's like, are you just saying that, or do you really mean it or whatever? Then the other side of it is because I guess that's not something that's going on in the WNBA. It doesn't sound like there's ever been a male to female trans person to play in the WNBA. It sounds like maybe it's been the other way around. Her name was, I forget her name, Louisa
Harris.
It was another one. I can't remember her name at this point. But
from Mississippi, she was drafted in 1977.
Yeah, no, this was not too long ago. Yeah, this is recently. But like I said, the other way around, not a male to women. So anyway, let me get into the comment section and see what you guys have to say about this. I'm just here today. And you know, and the question for you guys is, what is your opinion about men in women's sports? Even Serena Williams, when she was on a Tonight Show or one of those shows, and she had to dispel that rumor. You know, could she beat a man in tennis? And she said no. She goes, it's a totally different game when you put a man in there, because they serve stronger and this, that. Even though she is a top performer, the greatest woman to ever do it, she even admitted if she had to play against a male player, a top male player, let me say that, a top male player, it'd be no contest. Let's see. Albie Chill, you say, at least they can make money and get endorsements from them too. Okay. And Sir Kent, what's going on? Says Brittany Griner is a man, though. Does she identify as a male? I'm not sure if she does or not. I know she
isn't she going through a divorce again? I think she's going through a divorce from that. She leaves the woman that was championing her to get out of Russia. Man, what faithfulness.
Yeah, I don't know what she identifies as. I know she kind of physically presents to be that deep voice, but I don't know. It's a little bit too far into the weeds for me. Buckhorse says, let the women have their own league. I agree with you. That's why I said that's, to me, that's the common sense. I guess I understand why a man who is now presenting as a woman is trans would want to. But it's like, would you really feel like you got that out the mud? Honestly, I mean, you are, strong. I know there's some argument as to, I guess, when they're transitioning, I guess their testosterone has spoken.
Yeah, the hormones, they got to take pills to bring their levels down and stuff like that. But still, you're still a man at the end of the day.
Well, I'm just telling you what I heard, okay?
And here's the funny thing. How many of you guys saw the movie Juwanna Mann? Very funny movie. I played what was his name? The Tommy Davidson character, Smokey Smoke. I played Smokey Smoke. And that movie right there depicted the genetic difference between women playing and a man playing. That was one guy playing. Just think of this guy. Okay, the average WNBA this year's point total is like 97 points a game or something like 96. It's in the 90s, whatever the deal is, right? On average. One guy could probably do that in a game on a regular basis. It's just a fact. It's just especially if they were a former NBA player. Imagine that, a former. Good example. How many of you guys tell me in the comments if LeBron James or Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan, any of the modern stars, were playing in the WNBA, how much would they score per game? And it says, Wheatley Charles says, liberal women speak on second and third hand, don't know the facts. Call people out for things they don't say or do, and demonize everybody that doesn't think like they do. Not to mention half the league of some of the women who should never be on the air or on TV because they don't know how to conduct themselves like civilized human beings. Yes, and if you saw that clip, that man got thrown out of the arena for doing absolutely nothing but being a fan. You have a right in the arena. You can't touch the players, of course. They definitely can't come after you. Remember, we had the malice in the palace, all that stuff where they were going at that. You know, that's going to mess up your product. But you pay for your ticket, you can say whatever you want at that player. You suck, you this, that, you know, blah, 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 blah. This man got thrown out of an arena for being a fan.
So they say. Norma, how you doing? Says, notice how they're trying to use black sports to fight against the alphabet agenda. Yeah, I haven't looked that far into that at all. I mean, what's a black sport, if y'all mind me asking?
I think he meant that predominantly dominated by black people. So soccer, or not soccer, football, basketball. There are no blacks in baseball, so stop that. There are no blacks in baseball. There's a lot of Dominicans in baseball, but there are no black FBAs in baseball, which is very sad. There's a lot of money in baseball. So it's just those type of sports, what they're talking about.
Abigail says they say that because they don't want to have to double back and defend the other madness they've pushed up to this point. They've gone too far to make corrections in their minds. Okay, cool. Let's see who else is on here. Repent Judah, what's going on with you? Good evening to you as well. Let's see, first class citizen. Grand afternoon to you as well, Andrew. How you doing? Say, I don't think it's a pressing issue as long as the people in charge are fair with their opinions and what the tests say. As simple as that. Yeah, and I want to say to this moment, it doesn't seem like there's any, there's no trans in the WNBA or trying to play seriously.
Right, but you guys got to think about this. If you let a biological man, trans man, into the WNBA, remember, this is a business first. Everybody keeps forgetting that. When you turn pro, it is a business. How many sponsorships are going to sponsor a league that has trans men in it that is supposed to be for women? Do you know how many sponsorships you would lose just in doing that? And I'll give you a better example. How many of you fellas remember when Budweiser did that campaign with that trans guy? And Budweiser lost billions of dollars. Yeah, Dylan, whatever. They lost billions of dollars. So you got to think about that aspect of it too.
Amy says, hello, handsome Donovan. Yeah, that happened with, they gave them a Budweiser personalized can, set a six-pack, I guess, for themselves. Somehow it got to where they were saying that Budweiser, I think it was going to sell it on the market, but that wasn't the case. It spread like wildfire that was the new Budweiser thing. But no, they just gave them a personalized can of beer. And from that point, it was, they lost billions of dollars. But that's not what was going on. They weren't trying to put, I guess, gay beer.
Well, see, it doesn't matter what their intention was. It is what the reaction was to it that cost them billions of dollars. Yeah,
I get that, and like I said, Dylan, somebody, the last name would come to me, but I did look into it. So they never were intending on releasing that can of beer. It was personalized. I guess they do that sometimes. They give people their own personalized, and somehow I guess they Dylan or whatever the name is went on their social media and showcased it, and from that point, misinformation went out that Budweiser was, putting this out on the market, and that just wasn't the case. And instead of people doing their research, they went haywire. And yes, it did cost Budweiser, whoever it was, billions of dollars to where they had to come out in a sense to denounce it, but that wasn't the original intent. So I just kind of want to be honest when we're reporting this. I know what happened, but that wasn't the intent. So it's right.
Like I said, again, in business, whatever the intent, it doesn't matter. It's what your consumer looks at it, and the dollar is the bottom line. The dollar is the bottom line.
I'm not saying that the dollar is not the bottom line. I'm just making sure that I put that out there, that Budweiser, that wasn't their intent to put a gay can of beer or a trans can of beer on the market. I'm just making sure we say that regardless of what.
Yes, but as a man, and I'm speaking as a man,
Hey, listen, I'm gonna say this right now, okay? There's been a lot of men who are speaking as men, and they done came up out of a closet somewhere. I'm just saying.
It won't be smoky smoke here from Joanna Man, but check this out. Again, no man, regardless of the intentions, when you mess with our beer, you mess with our football Sunday, there's certain things in mandom, you ladies will never understand us. That's certain things that you just don't touch. And there, what's his name in the chat said he remembers that and he never touched a Budweiser again. And I've never touched a Budweiser since because I've been traumatized.
Well, I'm going to say this too. Y'all were traumatized by misinformation because that beer wasn't for y'all. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, how y'all get traumatized over a can of beer that wasn't for you?
Because Budweiser is supposed to be a manly man's beer. You don't put anything like that on it. Done.
Well, that beer wasn't for y'all to put y'all lips to. That beer, those beer cans was for Dylan to put their lips
that,
to, not for y'all.
That company is not supposed to put any type of non-man stuff on its product. This is why they lost billions of dollars.
Do you know how many CEOs is probably running around here in some ladies' panties?
Probably, but guess what? We don't know anything about it until it comes out.
Yeah, speaking of which, I don't know if he had a lady panties on, but the CEO and owner of the San Francisco 49ers got a little bit of trouble today. A misdemeanor for being involved in human trafficking. It was like, that don't even make no sense.
Wait a minute, didn't Robert Kraft get charged with that as well?
Yes.
Wow, all these owners and these Epstein people, and yet no prosecution, nothing really happens to them. It gets swept under the rug. All this stuff happens.
Say Budweiser an example of how people flip and flop. Yeah, that there's a lot of things that took place with that. I was like, boy, I tell you what. Brother Damon, you say they called booty Bud Light. You crazy. Buckhorse says, I just know things went wrong. It did. It really did. Mad Dog says, why are most of our women keep pushing this mess? I think that's a different, I mean, not a different conversation. We'll have it. But I think that's it's an interesting conversation because you do see a lot of sisters promoting that. I always tell y'all, I know people from the LGBTQ community. I'm friends with some of them. And a lot of them don't agree with the agenda, right? So there's one thing not to support the agenda, but to support people from that community, right? And a lot of them say they don't support the agenda. Now, I do see a lot of Black women who are on board in a sense with the agenda, right? With a lot of, and I'm trying to be careful, trans, we'll say that, okay? People used to be, or who are biological men, but then they transition to women, you know, they support that, and then they get mad when those same individuals say, oh, well, y'all need trans women to tell y'all how to be real women. It's us trans women, you know, the girls just ain't doing it no more, so we got to tell y'all, and then they get mad. But it's like, well, you clap for that. You clap for that when they was giving advice and talking spicy and all this other stuff. But then when they tell y'all don't know how to be real women, we do, then you're mad. It's like, well, be careful what you clap for, right? And I don't get into the argument of who's what this. I know what I am, okay? I'm 100% woman. That's all I could tell people or whatever the case is. But yeah, I do see a lot of women supporting that. And it's like, okay. Then on the other hand, say ain't no men out here. It's like, no, they wearing your skirts. When I go to the store, I'm about to get in trouble and I'm not trying to. Sometimes when I go to the store and I look for a size of clothing, I'm like, damn, they gonna need to start making double and triple, because I know some of the trans women probably come over there and buy the clothes like, golly, they need to make more, okay? So that we can share, I guess, at this point, because you don't see your size.
Why don't we just go back to making our own clothes like our mamas used to with them patterns and stuff? They'd be on the floor cutting the pattern up and sewing it together.
I guess. Albie Chill says, you got to stop with all this absurdophobia. Y'all got to stop. L, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Mike says, Guinness Styles indie day. Okay. Andrew says, oh my God, women will never understand him. What the F propaganda stops you from beer? Why? It says, why is the guy trying to manly man? But it's like the least manly man I think I've heard any opinion from on any view? Does he think people take him? They talking about you and you not drinking. You and I think who was it? Somebody else in the chat talking about y'all stop drinking Budweiser because of that. I think they talking about.
Wait! Stop right there. How did just me and another guy stop drinking Budweiser and they lost billions of dollars? So obviously other men stopped drinking Budweiser as well.
Talking about in the chat. Yeah, I'm talking about in the chat. Yeah. ADMP1, what's going on with you? Says if they create a product and use genocidal maniacs to advertise it, people that don't support that thinking won't buy it. I don't even know what you're talking about, but okay. Norma says, I think it's because too many of our women want to be in the good graces of white women, so they support the agenda. Yeah, but I don't know what white women got to do with that, because the women, the trans people that I see black women supporting are black. So I don't know where white women come into that. And I think at some point in time, we got to have a conversation that sometimes black people do stuff sans what white people are doing, right? We can't blame white people for everything, because ain't no white person going to make me support the agenda, right, of the LGBTQ or whatever. Again, I'm not talking about the people. I'm talking about the agenda. Not no white woman is going to make me do that. So at what point do we start taking accountability for the things that we support? You know what I'm saying? White female 21, how you doing? That's the name. Says, what the F is going on? You tell me. You tell me. Al, how you doing? Says the Phoenix Mercury is out of the playoffs. Dewana Bronner wants to be brought out so she can join the playoff team.
Yes, Dewana Bonner, she used to play for Phoenix back in the day when she first entered the WNBA. Recently, she was on Caitlin Clark's team in Indiana. She had left Connecticut and went to Indiana. Her lover plays on the Phoenix Mercury, Alicia Thomas. And so she finagled her way to quit on Indiana, finagled her way to get to Phoenix. Now, because they're out of the playoffs and stuff, she's quitting, just like, what's her name? She's a really good basketball player. She came out of Notre Dame. I forgot her name. Skylar Diggins. She's sitting the bench. They don't want to play. See, and this is another problem with the WNBA. They're not conducting themselves like professionals. So, you know, your team is not winning, and so you're going to quit on them to get bought out so that you can go play in ring chase. This is the level of professionalism. This is why the WNBA, the Welfare League, will not last too much longer.
First class citizen, he says, because feminism, quote unquote, is also undercover or code name for LGBTQ as well. Can you explain that? I don't want to speculate, but can you fill that out for me just a little bit? Because I'm trying to draw a correlation, but I'm having a hard time doing that. But maybe I'm missing something. So I'll wait for you. Tim, how you doing? And Andrew, you say you triggered Donovan. I don't think he's triggered. Tim, you say, yes, women are adult females. Yeah. Last time I checked. Let's see.
Andrew Slaughter says, I want to debate this guy so bad. Really? Do you know you would get your handed to you? Okay.
Y'all want to make it happen? I'm just playing, because I'd hate to see that. Albert Chill says, same with Gillette. Once they push that feminist BS, men stop supporting them too. Yeah, y'all talking over my. See, I certain things don't be on my timeline like that, and I'm kind of glad that it's not. But yeah, I hadn't heard about that. Amy, how you doing? Says, my dad was a professional boxing trainer. His fighter fought Ali and Foreman. They asked him to train lady boxers, but he turned it down. Okay. Corey, how you doing? Said, it's a crazy world. Mad Dog says the LeBron James effect, and I don't know what that means, but Video, how you doing? Says,
I think it has to go with ring chasing and all that other stuff. You're not getting your way. You stay a couple years and you go make a super team and try to join a super team.
Got you. Video, how you doing? Says, create a co-ed basketball league. Yeah, I don't think they want to do that.
That still wouldn't work, because then the women would not be able to play. The women will not be able to play, because the whole point of sports is to win. The women will not be able to play if you want to win.
Thank you, Brother Damon. I appreciate that. Y'all know I got to do something different in my hair every week, but I appreciate that. Andrew, well, y'all, I don't know what Andrew wants to debate you. Maybe y'all can make that happen one day. I would just say this. I really don't have a whole lot to say on this topic, because as I said, I don't talk about these things, right? As far as that, because I guess maybe I'm not that. So I don't have a lot of education on it, but I have a lot of education on common sense. And I think that women should play with women, men should play with men, boys, girls, so on and so forth. I don't see where the debate is. I don't even see why. I mean, because I know there's a case in California, not too far where I grew up. I'm at a high school where a trans individual wanted to be on, I guess they are, on a track team or something like that. And that's the one that went all the way up to the Supreme Court. And they basically said the states can decide. California is very liberal when it comes to that. They're very open to, boys playing in girls sports and things like that. I don't think that should be the case, because like I always say, if I had a daughter, and I do have a daughter, she's, not young. Well, she's not old, but if I spent all that money training her to play in sports, for whatever it is, whether she's going to be a tennis player, track, basketball, whatever it is, and then I hear that our biological male now wants to compete, now I'm concerned, because we have seen cases where biological males that are now transitioning and identifying as women, we've seen where they have participated and competed in sports and won, right? So they're up on the podium and they got the first place medal or whatever. Then you have these two girls that are biological girls next to them. And I just feel so bad for them, because it's like, I think I feel bad, because why didn't their parents pull them out? Why didn't their parents say, you know what, I would rather my daughter not participate than to have to compete against a biological man? It's not right, And a lot of people, especially who are very serious about these sports and their children, they spend a lot of time, money, efforts into getting their children to where they want to go, maybe college or something. So now you're competing against a biological male who is just stronger by nature, right? So if you're talking about track, he's probably going to win, okay? He's just a little bit faster, stronger, the way he's built, things like that. So to me, as I say, I think it should be a issue of common sense, okay? And I think I should say that we apply the word hate too liberally when it comes to things that are common sense, because even this conversation, some would deem to be hateful. Oh, you're mean, you're being hateful. And it's like, well, how do we weigh the hate? What's more hateful? A biological male participating in a woman's or girl's sports and dominating the girls, or the girl saying, hey, no, I don't want to compete against a biological man? What's more hateful, right? The one where somebody's saying that the biological male can't compete, the people against that would be considered to be hateful. You're anti, right? Or you're homophobic. I know I'm speaking on my head, but that will get applied. But the person that's saying, well, I don't want my daughter to be, let's say if it's wrestling, how do you gauge that? Like, so my daughter's supposed to wrestle against a biological man. If I say, no, I don't want that. Oh, you're a bad person. You're hateful. So how do we decide what's actually hateful? See what I'm saying? So that conversation is kind of, the common sense gets thrown out of the window eventually. And then we're just in silly season. But as I said, if my daughter had to compete against a biological male, she just wouldn't, right? Let the, that individual run up and down, whatever they gonna do, but my daughter wouldn't be there.
So again, common sense is common sense, but let's get to something that is local. Demetra and I, before we came on the show earlier today, as you guys know, like I tell you guys, it is very important. Politics is local. All politics is local. If you're not paying attention to what is going on in your politics, in your neighborhood, and you wonder why the trash isn't being picked up, your taxes are going up, the surcharges are going up, it's because you're not showing up knowing what's going on. So today I sent Demetra a clip of a California Assembly member in my district. And Demetra, could you kind of elaborate on what I sent you and why it is very alarming?
Well, I don't want to personally elaborate because I know that it's alleged.
Well, yeah, I will elaborate.
Because I don't have a lot of the facts. So but we're going to say allegedly with all of this.
Yeah, I will elaborate. The Democratic Party, as we've been telling you guys for years, has been using these GMOs, whatever you call them, as money laundering facilities and things like this nature. I have an assembly member who is running for re-election this cycle for the assembly. He calls himself the Martin Luther King Jr. of the California Assembly. He runs around in an African dashiki, but yet does nothing for blacks. He is one of the black assembly members that did not bring the reparations bill to the floor for a vote so that it could pass, which it wasn't going to pass, and then go to Gavin Newsom's desk. He ran he ran interference for Gavin Newsom to not put Gavin Newsom on the spot. And as we see right now, Gavin Newsom isn't doing very well in his bid to become president. If that's the case, that's going to happen. So this young man started a nonprofit. He's only been in office for 4 years. He's up for re-election. He started a nonprofit during the COVID section. His nonprofit was allotted about $250,000 of my taxpayer money, and some of you guys that are in my district, whatever, your taxpayer money. This is how it works. That taxpayer money in that GMO, whatever you call it, is supposed to go out and help whatever his nonprofit is supposed to help. But this is what the money laundering of the Democratic Party do. They give these GMO, they don't do a damn thing, right? Now, being in the assembly, he allegedly has somehow
NGO.
Yeah. He has allegedly somehow, whatever committee he sits on, steered $6 million into his nonprofit. Here's the caveat. He has no employees. He has no volunteers. According to the IRS, he has an expenditure of roughly $58,000. This story broke about 2 days ago. So where's the money? This is what happens when you're not paying attention to what is going. They're robbing you, deaf, dumb, and blind. And let's just put this out there for him. He probably did it, and what he did was probably legal. It was probably legal. But does it make it right? These are your tax dollars. He has no employees. He has no volunteers. $6 million went into his nonprofit. Where's the money? And by the way, his nonprofit, he is the CEO of it. So where's the money? Think about that.
Well, yeah, and I would say this too. Again, all is alleged because I haven't looked into it or any of that. It sounds like the story is unfolding. It's Corey Jackson. He sits on the California Legislative Black Caucus, is a Democrat. He represents a portion of Moreno Valley, and he's been doing it for a couple of years now, a couple of terms, I should say. He was on the city council in Moreno Valley. And so now he
wasn't on the city council. He was a commissioner.
Commissioner. I stand corrected. So from what Donovan is telling me, he now, being in the assembly, he also has a nonprofit, and it sounds like he got $6 million. Okay. Say all this is alleged because I haven't seen it myself. $6 million to his nonprofit, no employees other than himself. Right. So I guess they're wanting to know where the money is going, whether it's legal or it's not legal. I want you guys to know something though, for real. That is the same guy that sat with the California Legislative Black Caucus and told black folks that black California descendants of slavery, that right now you cannot get reparations. Y'all remember they had a reparations commission that got together in 2020, and they were coming up with recommendations as to what California descendants of slavery should get. So once that was over, they decided that should be about $1.2 million. Now, when it was said and done, and they were going to the state capitol to have these bills, all these different type of bills, either passed or vetoed by Gavin Newsom, they didn't take the bills to the floor at all. They being Corey Jackson and the rest of the California Legislative Black Caucus, along with Isaac Bryan and all of that. And so when they were confronted, I'll show y'all what happened so I can continue on and give y'all a little bit more context. As y'all know, I got the greatest hits here because I know somebody is going to, basically say we hating on the Democrats or whatever it is. But let me try to find it for you real fast. Hold on, I have it. Here we go. This is what happened. This is Isaac Bryan.
Mr. Bryan, he's mad I brought up the reparations vote. So he's preventing me from speaking. And he's trying to block my access here. Why are you so upset?
You vote for 3 strikes. You put black folks in prisons, but
here
now
for
you
3
want to be a reparations person.
Well,
But you
we
won't
should
vote
have
for the bill.
We should.
I
we should
supported the
have a
bill all
conversation.
session.
Then bring the bill.
Will you vote for the bill, Mr.
Bring the
Sebi?
bill.
Will you vote for the bill?
Bring it up.
Will you vote for reparations?
Bring it
I
up.
would love it.
Bring it up.
Let's vote for reparations
Bring
together.
it up. Bring it up.
You in, Bill?
Bring it up.
I didn't think so.
Bring it up. I'll vote for it. Bring it up. I'll vote for it.
Okay. So that was Assemblyman Isaac Bryan. At the time, he was busted along with the rest of the California Legislative Black Caucus. They did not take the bills to the floor. One would have been to fund a Freedmen's Bureau, right? The money, and then an actual Freedmen's Bureau. They didn't take those bills at all for Gavin to make a decision on. We think that they were blocking for Big Daddy Gavin Newsom so that he wouldn't have to veto it, because he had went on Fox News before that and says, well, we didn't say that was cash reparations, right? And so then he kind of backtracked and wavered. Nevertheless, that never did get taken care of. And so black folks learned that they, along with Corey Jackson, sabotaged black folks. Now, the guy that was talking to Isaac Bryan there, he was also part of the California Assembly, Bill Esseley. Well, he now works for the Trump administration. I forget his exact title, but he does go to California often, busting, the homeless program, because last year, they suspended funds going to there because they're like, there's millions, if not maybe billions of dollars missing that's unaccounted for, and some other things. And so I just thought that was a very interesting dichotomy, because they both, being Corey and Bill, were in the assembly. Now Bill works for the Trump administration, and they're going throughout different states, specifically California, finding this alleged fraud with all of this money missing. And so I thought, wouldn't that be interesting? Bill, the same guy that caught Isaac Bryan not doing anything on the floor, wouldn't that be interesting if he gets wind of this? Because it sounds like it's breaking, and he goes to California and he says, hey, Corey, what you doing with that $6 million? Why does your nonprofit need $6 million and you don't have any employees, allegedly, right? So I find that very interesting that on one hand, they didn't want black folks to get reparations, which is due to us, right? But then he is allegedly getting $6 million for this nonprofit. It's like, so you're getting your reparations per se, right? But black folks, you don't think that we should have. And in fact, they said, oh, this is a multi-year study. Now, mind you, this was 2020 that the study started, and 2024 is when they were supposed to make a decision. And so even from that point, they said, oh, it's going to take some more years. Now, from that, we've gotten things like apologies. We've gotten the Crown Act, where you can wear your hair how you want, and a job in California, and they cannot discriminate against you. Just foolishness, right? Stuff we did not ask for. But I just thought that's very interesting, and I will be watching that to see what unfolds, actually, because your nonprofit getting $6 million and you have no employees, man, what you doing with all that money? And I thought California was broke. But see, California got the money. And this is another thing that people need to understand about politics and politicians. A lot of times they don't want to give up those seats, not because they're interested in helping the people, but because they got the key to the vault, right? They can say, hey, I know you know, over the purse strings, I got a nonprofit, which is why a lot of people who have nonprofits, a lot of times it's hard for them to actually get money, because you got the greedy at the top who may be in these positions of power. They getting the money first, and then the people who trying to get it, well, come back next year. So it's a lot of people stay in those seats because they like the money, they like the power, and everything in between. That's why.
Right. And you guys got to think, common sense. So let's just go to common sense here. If you're an assembly member, you should not. Isn't it a conflict of interest that you're on a committee that steers nonprofit funds to nonprofits? Wouldn't that be common sense? There's a conflict of interest there. But no, we don't do these things. And this is why these elections, local elections, are so damn important. When you see that funds are being cut at the Boys and Girls Club, the kids aren't getting school supplies, this, that. All of this is a culmination of having to take care of people that should not be here, number one, and these people robbing you straight from the top. But see, when you call this stuff out, and we got to bring Shane back, you guys, and you call this stuff out, oh my God, like I said, he's silent right now. And me and this gentleman, we weren't necessarily friends because I know a snake when I see a snake, but we're acquainted with each other. I've sent him an email. I said, hey, what's your take on this? I've gotten nothing but silence. If I didn't have anything on him, he would give me a response. But he knows he's got to try to spin this the best way he can, because guess who his voter base is? Civil rights, older, church-going Black people. And of course, he's going to do for the Hispanic people as well. But he's got to get that Black vote. If he loses a significant amount of the Black vote, there's another gentleman whose name is Delgado, who has a very Hispanic last name, that could get that seat and take that seat from him. So he has to spin this very, very quickly, as quickly as he can, and explain it. But this is what I'm trying to tell you guys. In our community, we suffer from apathy. Oh, nothing's going to change. We're going to do it. One person could make that difference. And in my community, I don't even hold public office, but I am known as the Duke of Edgemont. I get things done. People come to me and I say this. It's almost like being a godfather. People come to me and I get it done through the proper channels. I'm having a $1.6 million bathroom being put in at my park after 14 years of advocating for it. But you guys can do the same thing in your stuff. Start calling this stuff out. Start calling it out. Why should we take a programs cut because people that shouldn't be here should be here? And I just got to say this. I know some of you guys are lifelong Democrats. I'm a recovering Democrat, so I know how you feel. But the fact of the matter is, Democrats are being caught more so in all this fraudulent activity than Republicans are being caught. And I'm not saying Republicans are better. I am saying that these parties are the same. White supremacy is white supremacy. But stop sitting there and thinking you can't make a difference. And don't ever fall for this. Do you guys know how many times I get called to ask to run for office? All the time. But guess what? I'm more effective as a political watchdog than I am sitting in a damn office. And that's what I'm going to continue to do. He's been called out now. Now he's got to spin this. Guess what? He's going to lose a lot of votes if this stuff comes out to be true. It's probably legal what he did, but is it ethical? And Demetrius from my neighborhood, we're from the same neighborhood. There ain't no damn millionaires out in the they're in the Inland Empire, but not in Moreno Valley, not in Paris. What does he need $6 million for? To do what? And that's the question.
Yeah, so I agree. I mean, but we also know that the state and local level elections have the lowest voter turnout. So you have people like your Corey Jacksons, Isaac Bryans, and things like that. They kind of get in because a lot of people don't show up. Some of these elections have 600 people showing up total, right, for a city, depending on where it is. So people have to just be educated and know that that's where there is the most direct effect on you as a citizen, even more so than the federal government, because the president is the president of the states per se, or the country, but the governor is the president of the state, which is why states a lot of times have their own constitution and the way they do things. Just like with this whole trans thing, they said they're going to leave it to the states to decide what you want to do with the girls and boys sports and things like that. And of course, the mayor is the president of the city, so on and so forth. So you have to start showing up to those elections and getting involved to see exactly what they're doing, because then you'll look up and hear allegedly that somebody is getting $6 million for their organization, and it doesn't make any sense. While, your streets and roads and things, and I know they have different functions, but aren't getting the attention that they need. But then you hear that, a politician, and unfortunately, we're hearing this a lot. I know there's a lot of crime and stuff in politics, but we're sure seeing a lot of it with when I say our, I mean Black politicians, seem like they're getting caught up a lot. Black politicians getting caught up a lot with their hand in a cookie jar. The other one was Sheila McCormick, where Debbie Wasserman Schultz now is going to be going up against a Republican and an independent there in the 20th district in Florida, because Sheila McCormick, and I think maybe she's Haitian or something, I don't know, but nevertheless.
She's first generation Haitian.
Yeah, so she was committing, allegedly, she was committing fraud to the tune of her having to resign, and then she jumped back in the race, which is crazy, right? So we're hearing this a lot, and it's very concerning. But what's concerning to me is, for one, that they're allegedly committing the fraud, and two is that you thought you were going to get away with it. You ain't them people. You know that you're Black, whether you are first generation this or you a Black American, whatever. You know you don't get the same benefit of the doubt as other people do. And I always think about somebody like Kwame Kilpatrick. He did it not once but twice, right? Got away with it in a sense the first time. The second time, he was doing a 27-year prison bid, and then Donald Trump pardoned him and all those things. But it's like, y'all can't do what they do and get away with it. It ain't going to be seen the same.
Yeah, and the reason why she resigned from Congress is that Congress was allegedly about to throw her out in a vote. And the rule in Congress, see, they make their own rules for themselves. Have you guys noticed that they have a better health care than we have? They don't believe in universal health care. They have their own little program. So what they do is great for them, but we don't get what they have. You would think, hey, if it works for me, if I'm satisfied with this healthcare system, why wouldn't I want my constituents to have it? But they don't. They're in a different world. So the rule in Congress is if they threw her out, she could never run for Congress again. So she had to resign because they were going to vote on her. So she had to resign, which made the seat vacant and all this other stuff happen, which allowed her to run again because she hasn't been convicted, which would have been done. Let's just say hypothetically she won her seat back. They probably would have thrown her out again because she still has to go through the court case. The court case still has to be decided. She hasn't gone to court yet. Trial. She hasn't gone to trial yet. So she would have probably been thrown out again. But see, Demetra, what I think it is, it's like a drug. They're addicted to the power and to the money. The money and the power. The money and the power. You know, sad. And what's really sad is a lot of our sisters that are in these positions are getting caught up in crimes. Your girl, Corrine Brown. You know, you loved that wig when it was left and right and left.
Well, I should say a lot of the brothers are getting caught up in crime too. Maybe not financial crimes, but some other crimes. There's a mayor of Lamarck, Texas. He got caught up with some, exposing himself type of thing. How that actually happened, I don't know. It was discovered on Friday. And so you're kind of seeing those things going on, but, getting involved in debauchery, thinking because I'm in a high position now and I could do whatever I want. Yeah, just know this. I don't care where you are, what position you have, what you do in the dark will come to the light. Okay. You will be exposed. You may not be exposed today, may not be tomorrow, but you will get exposed. If you believe in the laws of the universe, or, basically what you put out there has to come back to you. If you believe in that, then you know it'll come back to you or it'll be exposed. It's just not if, it's when. That's why I always say, in myself personally, I wake up with don't do any harm. If I ever cause any harm, it's never intentional. Okay, and if I do, I'm very apologetic, but I don't set out to harm people. I don't set out to scam, fraud and all these other things. It's just crazy because I know you'll have to get that back. We live in a day and age of the internet, social media, and things like that. It's not back in the day where it maybe come out in the newspaper and it was a real news cycle back then, right? And sometimes those news cycles were very long because there wasn't these other modes like social media, right? The internet to usurp different stories, because we always know that something is always going on. So what I'm saying is, with social media, because these things grow legs and they grow fast, not only do they grow legs, they grow narratives that may or may not be true. They are on the other side of that trying to explain it. What had happened was, so it's just best not to get caught up in any situation that would be unfavorable to you, to your image, to your family, to whatever it is. Just be on the up and up. But as I always say, like Lauryn Hill, it could all be so simple, but we rather make it hard. So, especially if you Black, right? You got the keys to the vault. You in this position or whatever it is. You don't think they looking at you with a fine-tooth comb? And listen, I worked at Walmart long time ago in my young 20s, right? And what I learned, I learned a lot from every job that I had. And when I worked at Walmart, what I learned is when they would do people, we call it the walk of shame, right? That's when they call an employee stealing and they have them handcuffed. They had the police, the managers. And it wouldn't just walk them out the back door, which they could have done, right? But they purposely walked them all the way from the back of the store where the office was, and they like zigzag through all the aisles and walked them in front of all the registers so that customers and employees and everybody could see them, right? That's why they call the walk of shame. But what I also learned is they waited. They waited until, not that you stole a piece of candy. Okay. No, they waited until you stole a lot and enough, because they were watching you, right? They would be watching you. And they say, okay, we got enough to really slap a case on them, and they get you that way. So what I'm saying is, a lot of times when you putting that in your pocket, oh, okay, ain't nobody see, okay, cool. Next, I'm gonna put 2 of them in this pocket. All right, ain't nobody say nothing. Now I'm gonna do it again, and then wham, they get you. And that's what they do with a lot of these politicians. They build a case enough so it sticks, right? They don't want nothing that's flimsy. They want something that sticks. So I'm saying that not even if you're never going to run for politics, great. But I'm saying in life, you think you're getting away with it, but you're not. And if some of y'all going to understand this when I say this, I think the person that will know what I'm saying is probably Albie Chill. If you Rolo Tomasi, they will find out that you Rolo Tomasi, okay? Those who know who Rolo Tomasi is.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because you made a good point. A lot of people forget this. Oakland, California went haywire. Why, Demetra? The thefts went out of the roof because if you didn't meet $1,000 threshold, they didn't bother arresting you. So these people were walking in the stores and filling their stuff up and just walking out. So there's a threshold of money you got to make, and this is what basically destroys communities and stuff when you put these nonsensical laws into place. We're not going to prosecute if it's less than $1,000. So what do you think the person's going to do? Hey, we can walk in here and just take what we want, up to $1,000, and we just walk out. Don't even have to pay for it. And yes, we know the business has got insurance and all that other stuff, but just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? But another good thing is, how many of you guys remember that politician? Because you guys are too young. I'm the old one sitting up here. How many of you guys remember that politician from Louisiana, my birth state? They found all of this money in his freezer, and he had the worst. He had no idea how it got there. You remember that? The guy in the freezer? It was. Why? Why didn't he put the money in an offshore account? Like his white counterparts. But no, we do the dumb stuff. We're going to put it in the house in the freezer. Or what about that guy in New Jersey? He was a white guy, Italian guy. His wife had gold bars. He invested in gold, and they put it in his wife's dress and the pockets and stuff when they went to go get it. Let this be a lesson to you. You do not have to be a genius to be in Congress, and you definitely don't have to be a genius to be president of the United States.
Yeah, because we've seen a lot of dummies take up residence there in Washington. So that's all I got today. Tomorrow I will be back. I'll be on our African Diaspora News channel at 11 a.m. Central Time. Then I'll be back here at 5 p.m. Donovan is always welcome to join me. I know he's a very busy man, but just in closing, I think common sense should rule, right? We should rule with common sense. What makes the most sense? What makes the most sense is that girls and women should play with girls and women, and boys and men should play with, boys and men. I don't think that we should muddy the waters and marry the two together, because then it becomes this, right? It becomes this conversation. Then it becomes, you have men wanting to, I don't know if they were serious, but declare for the WNBA draft to prove a point. It's just like, yeah, we live in a time to where common sense is not so common. My mom used to say that all the time. And what happens, though, is people who have the common sense, oftentimes they're afraid to speak out because they know that somebody going to argue them down. Oh, this, that, and the other. And where I'm learning a lot about the trans community and all the things? I'm learning that from other trans people, not personally, but on the internet. There's this one guy. He's huge per se. He's white in the trans community. And he says, I don't agree with all this cisgender, this, that, and the other. He said, you're either male or you're female. He says, there's some stuff that, they on TikTok They came up with this, and now they got everybody saying whether you're a cis man or a cis woman and all that. He said it's not. This is a trans man, right? I think he's trans, or he dresses up as a woman. I'll just say that because I don't really know. But he's saying this is something that came from, you know, maybe the younger generation or people who just want to redefine things and this, that, and the other. And then if you speak against it, then you're the problem. And he is saying, no, they're the problem because these things didn't exist. And so basically he's saying, now you got people arguing common sense. Like, wait a minute, I've never identified as a cis woman. Like, what is that, right? So you have people saying, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm a cis woman, when before, like, I'm 55 years old, right? I was just identified as a woman, but now you got all these things because now they want to separate the cis women from the trans women and the this woman and the that man. It's like, wait a minute. To me, that doesn't sound like common sense. That sounds like a bunch of confusion. So the people with the common sense, then they start saying, well, I'm not going to say nothing because when I tried to speak common sense, everybody jumped on me and they said I was wrong and I was hateful and I was anti and this, that, and the other. But I'm just speaking my truth and what I know because I suck at biology. I'm just keeping it real, but I do know what a woman is and what a man is, right? So those people are told to be quiet. Right? We got a new definition of stuff. And if you speak against it, like I've had some of those conversations, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not about to argue with you. No comments. You ain't going to tell me what I know because you ain't been here longer than me, right? You ain't been here that long. Now you want to tell me what you now reassigning me. Okay. That's the other part of the common sense is that I'm speaking to me, a woman for 55 years. Now I'm getting reassigned by another group of people because now they want to kind of fit in, but they kind of, hell no, I'm a woman. I'm unapologetically a woman. I don't care who likes it. And I'm not telling anybody else what you can identify as a pet rock for all I care. That does not do me nothing. Okay. I'm telling you what I am, and you will not classify me as something different because you came along and you don't like that women have the title of womanhood, just like some person that was trying to identify as a woman was mad because women get the gatekeep periods. And I'm like, out of all the things y'all want a woman's monthly. I'm like, surely you've never had one before, because if you had one, you would want that once. Okay. And when you get it one time, you're going to be like, oh, hell no, I rebuke it all. You're going to be like, yeah, man, what to do? So I'm just telling you, that's where we've gotten with this. And I'm not saying this from a place of hate. And I really feel compelled to say that because I know people from that community, but I don't know people who act like that. Okay. They're like, nah, we're going to keep it real. It's common sense, right? And they also understand that there's some in their community that has become a nuisance because it's like, you want to redefine what a woman is? Huh? And now that woman is mean or hateful because she's like, no, hell no. It don't make no sense.
Right. And real quick, Sister Saxon, she's been in a conversation in regards to school and school supplies and what's going on in the school. We'll probably touch this on our next subject, maybe. But right there, the Houston Independent School District right there, HISD, 4,000 teachers, they said, have left the school system there. And that's a problem. And I saw something on the X Factor, that little show that they do down there. And they had some teachers on the show, and they were saying the problem, it isn't really the student, because you have some bad students, but they said the problem is the bureaucracy, the administration itself, not getting the support, the supplies, the funding of the schools. So, maybe next week we could have a nice little conversation in regards to that, because Dimitri, remember we were in school, you had those teachers that were teachers for the love of teaching. Now you've got teachers that are just there saying, hey, I'm just doing this for right now until something better comes along, because of the pay issue might be an issue, or they don't want to deal with your badass kids or whatever. If you guys get a chance, go and look up and Google the 4,000 teachers that have left the Houston Independent School District. And there'll be some YouTube pages on it. If you're a parent or a grandparent, it is very interesting, and it's on the X Factor too, if you watch that show on YouTube as well, where the teachers are saying some very fundamental things in regards to our children's education. And it will tell you why a lot of our kids cannot read or not participating or not showing up. The burden that these teachers have is so great. My sweet thing every year, and she's a teacher, has to buy school supplies because the parents themselves, in some cases, don't do it. So, Dimitri, your sister's a teacher. So, we hear about it every year. Yeah. And a lot of the parents just send their, you know what it was? One who cares. Remember during COVID, parents were losing their minds and wanted the schools open so quickly because they had to sit and deal with their children. They use school as a way to be free away from their children. That's how bad it's getting. So I think that's a great topic to talk about, especially for those of you guys that still have children in these school systems.
Yeah, they found out that it was their baby, right? They spent the whole year before the pandemic happened. That not my baby. You found out it was your baby when you had to be at home with them, trying to teach them their ABCs and 1, 2, 3s and all of that. Yeah. What a rude awakening. So anyway, we do love and appreciate every last one of y'all. Be back here 5 p.m. tomorrow Central Time. Then, of course, 11 a.m. on the African Diaspora News Channel. So y'all please join me there. We're going to have some very interesting conversations this week there and tomorrow as well. So y'all have a great rest of your evening. Peace.